Hey, new year, new sermon study and home group study called Reframing Your View. We're going to be studying the parables of Jesus, and I'm really excited to get into it. Before we get into the questions, I want to start by introducing a bit of the study itself. Starting with this very simple question for you to ponder. What are parables? What are they? If you look it up in a dictionary, you might find it to say they're these fictitious stories intended to illustrate moral truth or clarify teaching. That is sort of accurate. But when Jesus spoke in parables, sometimes he was intentionally cryptic about how he taught. He says in Matthew 13:13, "This is why I speak to them in parables, because seeing they do not see, and hearing they do not hear, nor do they understand. Indeed, in their case, the prophecy of Isaiah is fulfilled, that it says, 'You will indeed hear, but never understand,' he says. And you will indeed see and never perceive." What is this? Is Jesus intentionally keeping something from one group of people and intentionally telling others certain things? Well, that's true. Many of Jesus' parables parallel Old Testament parables and teachings. Understanding this, I think, in itself reframes our way of thinking about life and belief in Jesus Christ. See, what Jesus was saying and doing in his ministry and life prompted questions that people had. What are you doing, Jesus? And why are you doing these things? And his response to that, and those questions that people asked him, was to teach in parables, which wasn't always super clear for everyone, but there was a reason for that. So why parables? If 1/3 of all the words recorded in the Gospels are parables, okay, of all the words that are recorded in the Gospels that Jesus said, if 1/3 of those words are parables, then they must be important. I mean, outside of it being a very rabbinic way of teaching, Matthew 13 tells us he spoke in parables. Here's my outline. Because, number one, he wanted to protect the truth. Protect the truth and his ministry. His time on earth and his purposes mattered because he came to earth to accomplish the most important thing in the history of all history, right? And that plan could not and would not be derailed. If he just simply said whatever those who were listening wanted to hear, or if he said certain things that would cause him to get derailed in ministry himself, he wouldn't accomplish what he set out to accomplish in the first place. On one occasion, the Pharisees, the religious leaders, ask him a very particular question, and he speaks back to them in parables. Why? Because they were seeking to kill him. They were seeking to catch him saying or doing a certain thing in order to bring him up on charges, and eventually they did, of course. Second thing, why parables? To draw us in. Understand. Parables, teachings like this, stories, they cause us to seek him in faith more and more. I mean, like, we are sponges, to be sponges of God's Word. God desires that we go after him, that we are seekers in that way. And parables certainly help us in that way. Another reason, why parables? To incubate the truth. What do I mean by that? A parable is going to sit with us and over time grow and give us more understanding as we experience certain things in life, for example. Applying them to our circumstances and our experience helps us. And Jesus intended this. It separated those who just wanted a quick fix and those who actually wanted him. So in that, it's kind of one and the same thing. They draw us, but they also sit with us, and that helps us understand them as well. Here's another reason, the final point I'll bring up here. Why parables? To transcend. To transcend. What do I mean by that? No matter where you are or when you live, stories like the parables of Jesus transcend time and culture. Yes, they were written to a specific time and culture, and if you don't understand anything about the culture in which Jesus was speaking into, you're not going to fully grasp what he's saying. However, they also speak to our context, and that's so important for us to understand. Before you get into the study questions, I want you to again take some time to pray together. Then, of course, read through Matthew 13, 1 through 23. And then, of course, following this video, and in the video, these questions will be made available to you on the screen, and you can just pause the screen and go through the questions as a small group.